As a little added PS, here we are. It's we've just entered. I just finished the September, and now I'm into October 24/19. September had a bunch of reinforcements, so I thought I'd do a little addendum to this video here at the end. The rebel players got reinforcements for the clan holds that had uprisings. I kept a list of them. Ken Island, Bama, Yorkin, and Scotia. And what happens is for each warren that is still intact, that hasn't been destroyed, you get 4 steps worth of units. So for example, in Yorkin, sorry, we're nighttime, so we've got that glare again. Let's see if that works. For example, in Yorkin we had Lex and Burke, so I got 4 steps for each, which couldn't have come at a better time because the Union has been completely just annihilating us. We actually had no rebel units on the board, a couple of partisans, and that was about it. And they were going, and you can see they've destroyed 1, 2, 3, 4 sites that were in revolt, completely surrounded. This one just happened to get, Ken Island had just this one warren left. They were converging on this warren space to destroy it, so he's unfortunately popped up right in the middle of the worst of it. We did manage to turn 2 more sites, Neva in Columbia and New Pete in Wyolan. The hope was, especially for something like Wyolan, the next turn where we can see if they rise up. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to make Wyolan rise up now. The rising has changed because we've now moved the PI level. Since all those destruction, it's moved up. We're now in the D column. So rising, for example, is going to be a 1/4 as opposed to a 1/5, which is great because a place like Wyolan isn't going to have any modifiers attached to it. If anything, I think I get to subtract 1 from my die roll because one of the spaces is in revolt and there's no other spaces in it. So I'll be able to get some forces, extra forces on the board with this one. Then I might try for the revolt stage. It's a 1/5. I might try to turn another one in Columbia, since this is where kind of the meat of his forces are. I might try to turn that one, because then on the next month's turn, November's turn, I'll try to have Columbia rise up against the man, so to speak. So that's kind of the plan, and that's the look at the map. Yeah, it's pretty barren, save for a couple of pretty severe battle zones, and like I said, the Union has just been walking all over us. In Scotia, attempted twice to destroy Dulac, or the Union did, and both times absolute failure. I think the last time there was 0 damage taken to Dulac and all the damage was taken to us. So we're just left with 2 air units, 2 full air units and 1/2 mobile unit. So there you go. And these guys have now joined the battle because Scotia had 2 warrens, so they're now back in the battle. Yeah, pretty amazing, pretty great. I'm kind of addicted to this tonight. It's just really working. I feel like I have a little more grasp of it. I'm still referring to the book, but not as much, or the instructions rather, but not as much as I have before. As far as strategy goes, now that we're into it, my strategy is, because the Union kind of has the upper hand, it feels like my there's really no strategy yet for the rebels. I've just been really fully immersing myself into what I would do if I was the Union player, and that is just going and destroying these in revolt markers, destroying warrens where I can, such as this one. Just kind of handing it to them, so to speak, kicking their butts. But we'll see. I mean, this might mark a turn, especially when we see what happens up there in Wyollan and Columbia. Anyway, wanted to add that. And the other thing I was going to add before, but it slipped my mind, was I think part of it is I've come to terms with the fact that this is a 29, if you play the full game like I am, it's 29 full turns. Things aren't going to happen. They might happen dramatically in bursts, but as I'm finding out right in this moment, when it really looked its worst, I was getting to add more units to my clan holds that I had. Oh, Wyollan is a reserve. Well, shit, there goes that plan. I'll have to read about that. Wyollan is a reserve, so I might not be able to turn that one as I planned. Sorry, distracted there. Things are going to happen in fits and starts. This is probably going to happen for most of the game. A big push from the Union, some pushback from the rebels. It does seem to be, as much as the game setup seemed to favor the rebels, the strength and the amount of Union forces that are so far have been kind of unbeatable has really overpowered and outweighed any rebel forces. And we're getting into a section now, when we get into these December and cold months, I think that's going to have a big effect. The Union force can roll one die at the end of a month's turn and subtract that from the political index, which gives him kind of this nuclear capability where once per combat phase he has these kind of missiles that have a 60 attack, never modified, that can attack a hex, and that's once per month, once per Union combat phase, which I think could do some serious damage too, especially since you can focus in anywhere on the map. So there's things like that that are coming up. But suffice to say, I'm really digging this game. So I'm gonna keep coming back and playing, and I just wanted to have a brief word with you all and let you know how things are going. And that is all. Here's a little update. So we're now starting the November game turn, and when we started it, our political index was back in the C column, which helped a great deal, and you'll see why in a moment. It allowed us to do a rising check of 1/5, so 1 die roll 5 or less, and a revolt of 2 die rolls 4 or less. That helped us. The rising helped us. We were able to turn Columbia because we get to subtract 1 for each in revolt hex within the clan hold, and we had to add 1 for a warren that wasn't for a settlement that wasn't in revolt. So that allowed us to turn the clan hold now to the rebel forces. The stacking rules for when you turn one is you can put as many of the pieces onto one of the warrens or the warren spaces as you want. There was only 1 warren space available, so we stacked all 6. Even if there was another one available, I probably would have stacked them all here because they need to really come down and help out this section. And then, since we had 2 die rolls, I figured we'd try this Noisia clan hold. there's only 1, 2, 3 settlements in it. So again, it's setting myself up for hopefully the next month's turn to turn this clan hold on our side, because again, we'll get that modifier again of subtracting 2, adding 1. And if we stay in this index, which we hopefully should, it depends on what we turn, I guess. Turning a clan hold is the first step, so when you do it, then you subtract the political index. So it should be okay, because even if we are at this stage, then we'd subtract 2 and head down to 20. But even in that short bit, you can see how much it jumped for us to the rebel side of the game. Quick look throughout the board here. You can see all the battles that have taken place. I had 2 months in a row there where I could bring in units for the clan holds that I had turned previously, so that really helped restacking or restocking the Bama clan hold especially, and the Can Island clan hold, because they were all gone in both of those places, and I want to try to keep this last war in here since the Union has destroyed the other 2 settlements in there. What's happened up top? Scotia just seems to be an area that there's not much movement that happens. We had a battle, but not much has changed. At the beginning of the turn, when it was the new steps for the Union, he put all of his new steps on those 2 spaces there. Again, with the knowledge, because I am both players, the knowledge that Columbia was going to turn, hopefully next one, I figured I'd stack close. Same with the mutant placement, I put them all in Columbia, so we can at least get a jump start on sending in the troops. So that's kind of where we stand overall. We really have our little battles across North America here that just seem to be persisting. Not much action in the middle. Oh, the previous month, I think it was in October, because we started in the D column, we got to try the U-Nomads. So it's a union. It's part of the Union recruitment phase, and hence the name U-Nomads. There's the Union Nomads, and then there's an R Nomads as well too for the Rebel Nomad forces. 2 die rolls, or yes, 2 die rolls, 5 or less. We rolled one of them that was a 5 or less, and you just pick from, I think it's this cup. No, not that cup. It's a pick from this whole cup, and what that contains is all the chits that belong to the Wyolan Reserve, the Dakota Reserve, and the Nebraska Reserve, and it's just a random draw. Whichever one you draw, you put it on its reserve on any one of these triangle spaces, which are called the totem spaces, which will come into play in next month's action there. When the totem symbol comes up, all of the reserve chits are taken off of the board. I believe, I haven't read too much about it because I haven't got there yet. I believe it's for just ritual reasons, for maybe religious reasons. They don't participate in those 2 months of December there. So right now that's a Union force. If it gets turned over, it becomes a rebel force. Not very strong, not much movement. Not much range. I haven't really done anything with them. I feel like I've got enough Union units here to take care of things without slowly dragging this guy into it, but we'll see how that changes. So there you go. So we have 5 clan holds that are now the rebel forces. We should really start. I don't know what the strategy is. I don't know if the strategy is to try to pick away at those units there, or if the strategy is to bypass them and attack some of their settlements? I don't really know. I don't know what my best strategy is. I'll have to check on the victory conditions, because I think part of the victory conditions involve this new Denver metro. There's Iowa and New Ottawa up there as well, but I think there's some conditions that involve that one.